Race World Cup. Classic circuit from the 1970s that has staged every major championship on 2 wheels and 4. Estoril remains popular with the fans thanks to its combination of long straights, fast corners and slow hairpins, and it kept its place on the calendar by regularly delivering outstanding racing. Much of the overtaking here is provided by the heaviest brake at the end of a 980-metre start-finish straight, 6 seconds to slow the bike from over 20 kilometres per hour to just 75 for turn 1. Toprak Razgatliog made his race 1 winning move over Alvaro Bautista. The next passing opportunity is turn 6. Parabolica Interior, only the second left-hander of the lap, and the conclusion of another high-speed area on the track. 9, the hook, is another action hotspot. A real crash risk there, but also the chance for a block pass at what is the slowest corner on the pit. Race lap record was broken yesterday on the soft SCX rear tyre. Today the qualifying tyre that set the previous lap record is available. In that distance, we should see that. Blood to Toprak Razgatlioglu at the EICMA Estoril round as he claimed race 1 in what in the end was a relatively straightforward race. Past championship rival Nicolo Bulliga on lap 2, then to the finish. Bulliga conceded 0.6 of a second, passing teammate Alvaro Bautista. By lap 5, Toprak had gained another second on pure pace. But then, as though the race was over, but much as in the championship as a whole, Bulliga refuses to give in, finding an extra gear on laps 12 and 13, narrowing the gap to 0.7 of a second to keep Toprak under pressure. The end result yesterday was to put the title further from Nicolo Bulliga's hands. After his Sunday resurgence in Aragon, he'll be looking for more from day 2 here in Estoril. Steve English alongside me, the racing not quite as close yesterday as it was 2 weeks ago, but Bulliga still playing his part in keeping Toprak on his side.
Yeah, not as exciting in terms of that bar-to-bar battles at Aragon, but there was one stage during that race where Bulliga was over the SUPERPOLE race, 10 laps of action was always going to be a lot closer.
Single change to the grid with Michael Ruben Rinaldi back in the lineup after sitting out yesterday with Catherine Enteritis, while Toprak Razgatlioglu topping the timesheet for the 6th time this season and the 3rd time at Alvaro Bautista on the front row of the grid for the first time in 2025. Much change field this weekend. Zakwan Zaidi on Asia Road Racing, faced by Lisbon's Ivo Lopez. Dominic Eggerter is out with a right hand injury sustained practicing at Valencia. Danilo Petrucci withdrew after FP1 following a training accident. And Lowe's made it as far as FP3. And yesterday we had a 5-rider pile-up at turn 1. 3 retirements in the restart.
Title, but everyone's still got that end-of-season feel of put it back on the bike. Let's use 5 races.
As you said, 41 points a gap between the top 2 in the championship. In the battle for 3rd overall, 15 points for Danilo Petrucci and Alvaro Bautista in Petrucci's absence. So Bautista will look to move up into 3rd overall today. Is still only 2 points. Meanwhile, in Sam Lowe's absence, Alex Lowe's has the opportunity to move 6th overall in this. Let's take a look at the grid in full then, starting with Toprak Razgatlioglu, your race 1 winner. Now notched more victories in 61 starts for BMW than he managed in 131 starts for Yamaha. German manufacturer's first Riders' World title last season. He might just be able to deliver them their first manufacturer's crown this season as well. They currently trail Ducati by just a single.
Yeah, and for that championship, going to Toprak versus as well into that race, manufacturers standing. For BMW, they still definitely feel they have a chance to be able to win that championship. The number 1. Still able to win plenty of races. Yesterday we saw just how much he wanted to fight for it. The move on Bulliga, the move on Bautista as well, we were able to, as needed to win. Wanted to make sure that it was very much in his hands.
Razgatlioglu's non-score on day 2 in Phillip Island, but as you say, it is Toprak who's scored all but 2 of those 500 World Championship points for BMW, and that was a stated claim and a stated target ahead of this season to get the one title that eluded the German manufacturer last year. Nicolo Bulliga, winner of the SUPERPOLE race here last season, 3,000th of a second WorldSBK closest ever finish. But took our most recent SUPERPOLE race in Aragon, the morning that ended Toprak Razgatlioglu's 4-round unbeaten streak. So Bulliga hoping for a repeat of that day and pressure on Razgatlioglu going to harass.
I was chatting to the riders yesterday, and one thing that we talked about impressive back guards are all of you back in that graphic at the bottom of the picture was something that a few riders cited.
Bautista led the first 2 laps over the line in race 1. At the time I said the first lap led since Phillip Island. It wasn't quite that long. It was actually Aston race 2 that he led 7 laps after Nicolo Bulliga's retirement. But still, it was short-lived here in Estoril. His fastest lap 9/10 of a second slower than Toprak fastest. His fastest lap 9/10 of a second slower than Toprak fastest. So had nothing like the pace to go with the leaders. His fight is realistically for third. And for contenders on the second row of the grid, Alex Lowe's, David Yerke, Jonathan Ray. Lowe's just 1/100th of a second from the front row in SUPERPOLE. And to be honest, that could have made all the difference in race 1 because he punched up for much of the race, passed Alvaro Bautista in the first staging, but in the restart, dropped behind the Yamahas of Ray and Locatelli. Pass could only capitalise on the fading Jonathan Ray 6 laps from the pit.
Very good. As stakes, SUPERPOLE race then.
David Yerke slipped 7th on the opening lap of race 1, and that's where he stayed. Not Andrea Giannone, but never quite landing a blow on Jonathan Ray. So Yerke will be looking for a better start here because he could have been a podium contender yesterday.
Yeah, and for Xavi, you'd expect that he'll be one of the riders out there you higher in this. I'll know that the Super tends to be a little bit stronger in it.
Jonathan Ray was suffering with a brake problem up in FP3, then reoccurred during the race when he overshot turn 1. A lap later, he was passed by Alex Lowe's and Andrea Locatelli. That dropped him from 6th. But if he can get into the podium places on the opening lap here, there's every chance of a rostrum finish for Ray. He was still only 0.1 of a second from Alvaro Bautista as late as lap 11 yesterday.
Yeah, and certainly whenever you're
as late as lap 11 yesterday.
Yeah, and certainly whenever you're able to put yourself in that position, know that Ray's going to fight. We know these has. But it's going to be interesting to see temperatures right now. We're on the limit for the fire, but it'll be in a few minutes' time that we find out if anyone's going to roll the dice. I'd be surprised if someone like Ray rolled the dice. Third row of the grid for Remy Gardner, Andrea Locatelli and Axel Bassani. Gardner, 7, his the front 3 rows of the grid here in race 1. The front 3 rows of the grid here in race 1. Past Axel Bassani on lap 1, then Remy Gardner on lap 7 for 8. But despite matching the pace of those ahead, he makes no further ground. So the better grid position be in the mix for race 2 this afternoon. And that's the key, getting yourself into the top 9 position. That's why further down the field, we'll have riders that will roll the dice and give themselves that soft tire and a little bit more performance. We'll see who does it in that 4th, 5th row.
20th victory of the season for Toprak Razgatlioglu yesterday. Double the number of wins of Nicolo Bulliga, 41 points ahead of him in the championship. The right outcome here for Toprak. There is still a chance for him to be proclaimed world champion with a round to spare. But Nicolo Bulliga, the winner of our last SUPERPOLE race, looking to make it on the bounce. Points over the next 3 races. It stands at 41 at present.
And for Bulliga, he knows that this race is critical. We know that we're going to have other riders in the mix. Jonathan Ray, you can see there just action run to turn 1 is critical because that's your big opportunity to make up places. You know how difficult that can be in yesterday's race. And he had a crash in the upper 5 riders were involved in.
Coming from a little bit further down the order, up at the front, Jonathan Ray made 2 great starts. Andrea Locatelli starts, but even better, of course, the initial running and then the second time of asking after their potential. You can see them just making their way down the straight there, not one behind the other. Locatelli from the middle of the 3rd row of the grid was alongside Ray pretty much by the first turn, and Ray in turn had closed in on Alvaro Bautista, in fact passed him in the initial running before.
And obviously once that red flag happens, then get that restart. We were able to, as he changed his tire, he went for the softer option, struggling to get the bike turned in. The wind's going to be a factor for that as well. It's a crosswind, then start finish straight, which means that you're going to get a good blast of it when you come through the parabolic corner. This is important for the riders to their warm-up lap now, just to understand that as well, because it'll mean that you change your turn-in point ever so slightly into this right-hander.
Ray making his way start line in his best round yet on board Yamaha machinery here a year ago with places Festive position finish yesterday. His only podium thus far since moving on to the blue machine was in the SUPERPOLE race at the UK round a year ago. That was his last Rotterdam finish in WorldSBK Championship standings again. WorldSBK 1 points clear of Bulliger, moving ever closer to the title. We are in a similar situation to what we were coming into this Estoril round a year ago. Bulliger, of course, dropped away to the title on the opening day in Danilo Petrucci not participating in this SUPERPOLE race. A free hit for Alvaro Bautista and Andrea Locatelli.
Javi Vierge is out there on the cue prior to the front runner.
10 laps ahead of us then. Back his waves. It's the SUPERPOLE race at the ICMA Estoril round for 2025. Start from Alex Lowe's from the second row of the grid. In fact, all the riders on the second row are away pretty well. Alvaro Bautista making progress in the run to the first turn. Hits the front briefly, just as he did in race 1 yesterday afternoon, but he's moved aside early by Nicolo Bulliger. And Bulliger has a fight between himself and championship rival Toprak Razgatlioglu. Good start again from Andrea Locatelli, just as yesterday. He runs out Javi Vierge wide onto the curb. Alex Lowe's comes through, but gets bottled up behind Locatelli, and that allows Jonathan Ray to pass the pair of them. Ray then up into 5th position. It's Bulliger who leads Bautista. Razgatlioglu 3rd, Locatelli 4th, Lowe's in 5th, and in fact Jonathan Ray just up ahead of him, and then behind Alex Lowe's it's Javi Vierge in 7th. As Toprak Razgatlioglu attacks Alvaro Bautista towards the Parabolica Interior.
Alvaro ran wide here yesterday, done it again.
Wide again, and Toprak Razgatlioglu gets through, and that's crucial because Bautista's fastest lap time yesterday was 9/10 of a Razgatlioglu made his race-winning move on Alvaro Bautista here on lap number 3, the heaviest braking zone.
He's not able to close to Bautista. Take his move well.
Yes, Jonathan Ray, we know yesterday.
Look at how much faster he is than Bautista to this part of the track.
Yes, turn 9, the opportunity for Ray, a lap ago on Andrea Locatelli. Will he be able to put a move here on Alvaro Bautista? Toprak Razgatlioglu wide line through the Parabolica Interior, and Nicolo Bulliger nicks the race lead once again on lap 2. Toprak will try to answer straight back now into turn 7. Down the inside they come as they come down the hill, and Razgatlioglu does barge his way through, just in fact as he did to Bulliger in race 1 yesterday afternoon through there. Opportunity for Bulliger now into the hook. He's got to take the high ground. He does so. Jonathan Ray through on Alvaro Bautista as well, up into the podium position. Razgatlioglu repays the compliments on the exit of turn 10. 2 races in 1 here on lap number 2.
Yeah, for Toprak, as that rear wheel came back into contact with the stick that just unsettled the bike, he ran in a bit hot. Bulliger comes through, but Toprak answers straight back.
In sector 2, it's time for Razgatlioglu to try and escape away as Jonathan Ray puts the pressure on to Alvaro Bautista for 3rd position. Bautista will know where this move is going to come. It's going to be in towards turn 9 as we watch the replay of how Bautista got through on Jonathan Ray. Wait to find out whether Ray is able to repay the compliment through turn 9. Not this time around on lap number 3.
Yeah, and you can see for Ray, though, the exit of turn, they're trying to give themselves that opportunity. Riding well to pick off Alex Lowe, keeping himself top 6, and he'll be a challenger by the end of this.
Razgatlioglu half a second faster almost than Nicolo Bulliger last lap around. He's stretched his legs. It's Ray versus Bautista. A bit of a moment there for Bautista. Picking up off Ray, not quite close enough to land the blow in towards the Parabolica Interior. And soon end against Andrea Locatelli as well. He needs to clear Bautista quickly. Wide a line for Jonathan Ray there through turn 6. He's building up his momentum for the exit. Down the hill again into Aurelia. Turn number 7. And it will be a lunge down into turn 9 here, surely from Jonathan Ray. He's within a bike length now of Alvaro Bautista. They make their way through the right-hander at turn 8 into the hook. Bautista has the line covered. Jonathan Ray has now got a train of riders bunched up behind him and Alvaro Bautista, who currently occupies that 3rd position.
See once again there for Ray, just on the exit of 9. He's so strong through there. He's almost riding onto the back wheel of Bautista, but he's not able to come through and make that move. Bautista went well into 9 again.
The bike squirming around underneath him doesn't look fully comfortable. Exactly the same as on the change of directions in race 1 yesterday. And watch now for Andrea Locatelli, who will duck to the inside of the Ray on the start-finish straight. Ray will hope to capitalise on the slipstream from Alvaro Bautista ahead of him, but Locatelli with the opportunity to make, going to get it done here at the start of lap number 5. Jonathan Ray tries to hang on in there with Alex Lowe behind, rounding out the top 9. Remy Gardner and Andrea Ioannoni.
Crap going on here with these riders all the way down to that last point in position. There's a bit of a gap back to Axel Bastani, about a second and a half. So these are our top 9. These are the riders that should be on those position.
Does look like an opportunity this for Andrea Locatelli, who is rarely, you have to say, able to beat Alvaro Bautista head-to-head on pure pace, but has on in there with Bautista's 9 retirements in this 2025 campaign in the battle for third position. Locatelli 0.3 of a second faster than Alvaro Bautista on lap 4. He's got clear of Jonathan Rea, but Rea was able to give the closer fight to Bautista than Locatelli has been thus far.
And for Rea, the biggest problem is Locke exits that last corner. Well, we saw it in yesterday. Thomas going to get behind. That becomes so critical to make your moves when the opportunity.
Nice work here from Alex Lowe. Cut back on Xavi Vierque. Set that move up going in towards turns 8 and 9. And now moves up into 6th position. At number 5 of 10, Top Gaffioglu leads the way. New personal best lap last time around from Nicolo Bulliger. New personal best first and second sectors on this lap 5. And the fastest third sector of anyone. Bulliger hasn't given up the fight just yet, and it is the new fastest lap of the race, and therefore a new race lap record for Nicolo Bulliger to get right back onto the tail of Toprak Razgatlioglu. 0.3 of a second between them as they come in to lap number 6. 3 seconds back now. Andrea Locatelli, a couple of tenths of a second. Another couple of tenths to Jonathan Rea in 5th. Vierque, Lowe's, Gardner, Yonone, your order rounding out the top 9.
See there, it looks like Bull is just a little bit more comfortable on the bike, just able to move life, and it looks he's got a lot of confidence in what he's doing underneath him. Toprak looks like he's having to hassle it a little bit more, and Bulliger last time around like a faster.
All the move from Alex Lowe on Xavi Vierque on lap 5. Vierque there was having to defend as well against Remy Gardner, has seen his challenge off for the moment at least, and Gardner is now picked off by Andrea Iannone. So for the second faster than Toprak, 3 sectors 2. Razgatlioglu, you'd have to say, has had decent pace on this lap 6 so far. And it wasn't until laps 12 and 13 yesterday that Bulliger was able to pull back some of the margin, and he's used too much by the time he got there, wasn't able to stretch that elastic any further, and Toprak Razgatlioglu pulled away for victory. Will Nicolo Bulliger have the answer to that, as he did in the Superpole race in Aragon last time out? We head into lap number 7 of 10.
There for Toprak minus 2, trying to open up the electronics a little bit more to give Toprak more on a tire drop, putting less and less practical. Otherwise, you start to cut into that and just take that tire wear.
Big word on the fight further back. Still only 0.3 of a second between Bautista and Locatelli, with a bit of a moment as well coming off turn 4, but Rea not quite close enough as Andrea Iannone now makes a pass on Xavi Vierque. So Iannone, the biggest mover in this race thus far, started 10th on the grid, and he's now up to 7th.
Yeah, Iannone's going to mug them all potentially. That's the challenge that they all face, because they're all...
Oh, down goes Jonathan Rea! What a shame for Rea from 5th position. He was trying to get back on terms in the battle for the podium places, and Jonathan Rea loses it at turn 7. That's his Superpole race over and done.
Yeah, that's going to be a 4th row of the grid then for Rea at best in race 2 afternoon. It's a real game, but able to fight and try and put himself in a position to go away with the podium. Onto the entry downhill into that section of the track, and it's easy. Such a hard on that front row, right on board. A little bit of shape on the entry, but you're literally just on that knife edge on the tightrope to give yourself a chance.
Andrea Locatelli and Alvaro Bautista before that in an area of the track that's not conventional for overtaking, because he didn't have that that's not conventional for overtaking, because he didn't have the overtaking opportunity into towards turn 1. That error almost comes out of frustration, you feel, for Jonathan Rea.
Yeah, when that happens and then Toprak starts to open up that gap, well, it means that we've just got, this is the only real battle right now with half laps to go, and Locatelli just trying to keep applying that pressure to Bautista. Again, it's the turn 9 move Locke is going to have to make, probably as late as on that last lap.
Important this for Andrea Locatelli in the context of the World Championship. He's got to show fight against Bautista. Alvaro Bautista taking place away yesterday in race 1, and an opportunity to pick up something again on race 1, and an opportunity to pick up something again on Andrea Locatelli here. Locatelli hoping to the mistake. It has been Bautista's errors that have left him under pressure in the battle for the bronze medal, which of course he took last season. Is bidding to retain in the battle for the bronze medal, which of course he took last season. Is bidding to retain this year in the absence of Danilo Petrucci this weekend.
Iannone again gets you'd expect Iannone enter to that last corner, try and set something up down that start-finish straight, see come through those valid times during this race. But you're up against a lot of firepower then in turn 1.
Andrea Iannone is certainly the fastest man other than the top 2 on the circuit, and he's made a couple of tenths of a second a lap for the last couple of laps over Bautista, Locatelli, Alex Lowe's in this group. How quickly can he dispatch them, though? That's the key to any hopes of a podium position for him. Up to the end of lap number 8. Quick check on the gap between Razgatlioglu and Bullocker. That's opened back out now to half a second. Accelerate away from Andrea Locatelli down the start-finish straight. The Yamaha doesn't have the grunt of the top speed, but enough to hold on from Alex Lowe's, who's coming under increasing pressure from Andrea Iannone.
In the last corner, Iannone got dropped by Lowe's and come back to him again. So Lowe's, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's still got the opportunity of another top 5 finish. And then you just try and see if you're able to capitalize on a mistake. And Iannone, this part of the track, this is where it's good from turn 4 upward.
The reality is that the fastest of these 4 riders are the 2 that at the moment don't have track position. Alex Lowe's a 1:36.1 last time around. New personal best first sector on this lap 9. Andrea Iannone 1:36 flat. Bautista 1:36.3 and Locatelli 1:36.3. So pace advantage is with Lowe's and Iannone, but the track position is with Bautista and Locatelli.
Yeah, and track position is the key thing, and especially whenever you've got that speed. Bautista to be able to hold off Locatelli. Locatelli now just dropping back a little bit from Alvaro. Stage of the race where you expect to see Bautista get stronger and stronger, and for Locatelli, he's had to defend those.
Not able to get through there at turn 9 on lap number 9. So counting down for Alvaro Bautista to take another podium position, and from 3rd position on the grid, if he can hold on to it for race 2 this afternoon, I don't think there's any doubt that he could be the favourite to complete the podium for that one as well, which will be even bigger points. So really important weekend for Alvaro Bautista to capitalise on Petrucci's injury and to beat Andrea Locatelli. And Alex Lowe's might be able to do a favour here to Alvaro Bautista by nicking another point off Locatelli. It's a race for 4th position, down the start-finish straight and into the final lap, 4 kilometres to go. Lowe's is alongside Locatelli, who turns in, but finds Alex Lowe's in his path, but Alex Lowe's falls just after taking 4th position at turn 1 on the final lap.
Yeah, and you can see for him, Jonathan Ray, just trying to give himself the chance of having to override at times and giving yourself the prospect of another top 5 finish of that crash, but unfortunately for him as well, like Ray, you're going to then be punished in race 2 down the grid.
Opportunity now for Andrea Iannone to attack Andrea Locatelli for 4th position. It is Razgatlioglu leading Bullocker by 6/10. Bautista 7.5 seconds back. He has dropped Andrea Locatelli. This fight is a second behind Alvaro Bautista. It's for 4th position.
Look at Iannone through this corner. Is he able to get on the gas nice and early and try and close up on Locatelli? Might be a little...
And 9 would be the place to do it on this. Iannone, the best fighting chance he's had of a podium in many a round in 2020. Iannone, the best fighting chance he's had of a podium in many a round in 2025. Really important recovery ride from Andrea Iannone, one of the big stories of this on the grid. He made his way up to 5th with a chance to snag 4th on this final lap. Coming off the final turn then, Toprak Razgatlioglu wins the SUPERPOLE race at the 2025 Estoril round. 2nd place goes to Nicolo Bullocker, and then who will come over the line in 4th position? Drag race down to the line between Andrea Locatelli and Andrea Iannone. It's Locatelli, but only just by less than 1/10 of a second in the race for 4th position to the line. Completing the 2nd row of the grid for race 2 this afternoon will be Remy Gardner, and your 3rd row of the grid will be Xavi Vierge, Axel Bassani and Michael van der Mark. Bassani and van der Mark were nowhere compared to the top 9, but Jonathan Ray's fall, Alex Lowe's fall, has promoted them up into the points-paying positions.
Yeah, you can see for Remy Gardner's and their
positions in the 11 rounds we've had this so far, and that will be his 8th SUPERPOLE, and that will be his 8th SUPERPOLE race victory as well. So we're moving ever closer to a Riders' World Championship, and Razgatlioglu, increasingly the man with all the records, has taken another accolade this season.
Yeah, 44 points lead, ultimate to get the job done this afternoon, and Bullocker to have some problems, but the first opportunity Toprak's going to have to wrap up the championship, but it's not in his hands.
Toughest of the 3 races usually for Alvaro Bautista, the SUPERPOLE race. Gets across the line in 3rd position, fends off well against Jonathan Ray, and then against Andrea Locatelli, sets him nicely up for another podium finish in race 2 this afternoon.
I mentioned about the space penalty issue. Riders down there as well. Alvaro is really laying it on thick now at this stage before he leaves the Acura Ducati team.
Well, he's got to do whatever he can particularly for something that would obviously work in his favour if that rule were to change next season.
Christmas.
Yeah. That said, you know, Bautista obviously tried to make his case and make his argument last season, but there was no change before that came into effect. So the likelihood of changing it after a season of racing will be.
And it is a shame in some ways that fight for the top bracket, but the other side of the coin, they're the rules, and you kind of pick where it's worked, and that's where next year having a new idea held that as well. But for Alvaro next year, don't have the pressure. I think that for Alvaro, once again in this race, we see that good, but he's having to really fight for it. Able to hold on to that track position, but ultimately Bulaga has jumped onto that bike, and over the course of 2 years has been a much better rider than.
The problem, I think, for me is that last year, Bautista always wins Bulaga. So the first half of the race, Bulaga would have track position. Second half of the race, Bautista often would pass, often had the pace advantage, also would often get himself into trouble or have an incident, whatever, or qualify too far down the order. But the two of them were evenly matched, and yet this year, market is ridiculous. I said it in SUPERPOLE. You know, market is ridiculous. I said it in SUPERPOLE. You know, 9/10 of a second race yesterday, 9/10 of a second. And if Bautista feels that that's the main thing at play,
For winning all those championships on bracket race, there weren't too many people on the grid that were Alvaro level, and I think that's ultimately.
yeah, I just think we don't have a clear indication as to where Bautista stacks up against Bulaga, let alone the rest of the field. Obviously, Bautista is still ahead of all of the other Ducati. The pace is ahead of Petrucci long as well, even if not for points. He is now only 8 points away from Petrucci. Got at least one race in hand, and more than likely 4 races in hand. Bautista's fighting, even two of them on track together fighting for a podium, and that's been a bit of a rarity, to be perfectly honest.
Well, and form book pulls. Race 2, like Locatelli comes away with a top 5 finish. Probably going to be overtaken by 10 points at the range here. But a lot can change. We've seen a lot of issues mistake. That's where Aragon and has been quite interesting to see. They spoke a lot in Aragon. Championship. Sunday performance, and then these. And that's been a mistake. That hasn't always.
5 podiums in a row is done. Assen, Sunday in Assen, and the weekend in Cremona. And it was a retirement before it. It was places and a retirement in Moss, a retirement at Donington, a retirement at Balaton, 2 non-scores in Magny-Cours, a retirement in Aragon. Start to get an indication of what Alvaro Bautista has looked like. At SUPERPOLE race, it's promoted.
It looked at one. Was going to bring that fight to it, but ultimately we saw on the run down that back straight, or the start-finish straight, just how difficult it was for him. And Hooray, 4th row of the grid, it's going to be tough for us.
Now in the end, somehow manages to cross the podium. This weekend he's very close to it. Faster than Bautista first half of the race yesterday. Faster than Bautista there as well. Even past Bautista to get up into the restaurant. But Bautista rockets off that final turn. Ray does have a weakness for trick there through turn 13. I don't think there's much doubt about that. But also the straight line speed that allows Bautista.
When you look at it for Jerez, though, the track probably got it into his hands as well for that podium fight. He doesn't have the speed to be able to go with Bulaga top rack, but you'd imagine when you look at what we've seen this weekend, just how much faster he was than Alvaro in all those twistier sections. Jerez will kind of give you an opportunity to make a move past one. So we'll see if maybe in Jerez there's an opportunity.
Let's take a look at your race results and championship standings. Then top track Razgatlioglu victory by half a second in our race. 9 seconds in a 10-lap race. Alvaro Bautista back from top track Razgatlioglu. Then the rest of the group are second behind Bautista in the end after jumping race all. Locatelli just holds on from Iannone. Remy Gardner completes the second round of the grid. That's a great result for Gardner. And his best SUPERPOLE race of the season. Third row of the grid will be WBK P7. A bit of a disappointment that for him in the end. Axel Bassani and Michael van der Mark. So it's 4 points now between the top 2, Razgatlioglu and Bulaga. Alvaro Bautista moves within 8 points of Danilo Petrucci, the third in the World Cup.
Alvaro Bautista, P3 once again today. He keeps up that battle for another podium later on.
Yeah, of course, for the top three. Again, difficult to follow Zach and Nicolo today. They were fast. But yeah, I try to defend, no? I have a lot of pressure from the back, so I cannot push corners. So yeah, I enjoy doing this. Yeah, let's see later, no? Because we will start from the front row again. Let's try to fight for the podium again. I think first and second position is difficult, but the third is possible. So let's fight later.
Thanks, Alvaro.
Thank you.
Well, problem is it's pretty easy at the moment for top-rack Razgatlioglu in the top. And that's all he needs to do is just being on those podiums to be world champion, and the rest of the group can't live with them. And that's the head-scratching that needs to be done up and down the grid in this winter. How do we get on terms with Nicolo Bullis? Catty will level the playing field between him and the rider who by then will be his team.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see the change for that new bike, for arm change, engine, electronics, and ultimately for Bautista, they're not on that factory bike.
Razgatlioglu in the championship.
Nicolo Bulliger, P2 once again, but a good battle in the early stages.
Yeah, honestly, I feel good with the bike. It was not very easy, but Toprak was very fast. It was a nice battle the first two laps, but then it was a bit faster. Congratulations.
Thanks, Nicolo.
Second place for Nicolo Bulliger then. It was the most he could do. Just sim race one yesterday afternoon. There were 2 laps where he closes in, but Toprak is able to manipulate his pace.
Yeah, and for Bulliger, once again, we're able to put he can't beat Toprak down. It's so difficult to beat Razgatlioglu, especially around a track like this. We saw it with Toprak in those opening couple of laps. Again, yesterday and today, where Bulliger makes the start, Bautista makes the start. Just move on Bulliger once again down into 7, nice and aggressive if you're Toprak. For Bulliger, not an awful lot else you can do.
Not the most conventional overtaking area, but you almost feel that there's a psychological battle going on there to show commitment from Toprak to make that aggressive pass, to go bar to bar, to move Nicolo Bulliger out of the way, and from there he was untroubled. Toprak Razgatlioglu is 2 sets of the way to his coveted Estoril round hat-trick.
Toprak Razgatlioglu, win number 21 of the 2025 season, edging closer to the hat-trick, edging close towards the title.
Yeah, for me it's the very hard race. I'm just focused on my pace. Pace also very strong, and Nicolo, because he's really pushing me hard, and I'm pushing also the every lap. But for me this race is very important. I'm just focused in the race, and finally we did. But we have another important race, race 2. I'm just focused this. My target again win the race, because last year I'm not did hat-trick here. Now I'm just focused the hat-trick. This is the only I have one race, but we will see. I'm ready to fight again for the win, and I think everyone enjoy a lot the race too.
Immediately go on the rampage for the final 2 rounds of the season have been disproven, and now it's going to take not just one item of misfortune, but probably 2 mechanical Simon.
Yeah, and ultimately that's where we've been, of course, the last few rounds, where we've been able to see Razgatlioglu, the form he's been in. Ultimately for Bulliger, the Sunday in Aragon is going to be one of those reminders of just how well he's ridden this year, but it's not going to be enough, and that's the big challenge that Ducati face, because you need to Toprak in.
Absolute self-happiness.
Yeah, and it's one of the where you lose those few battles, a race like this, and Bulliger's lost
from round 5 onwards. Toprak's been utterly dominant. To be honest, it's true. A lot of points left on the table. Axel in particular, and that Bulliger really was the fastest man and came away losing points. He didn't make the most, didn't make enough of the 4 rounds where he was the fastest man, and in the 8 rounds subsequently, Toprak has taken every opportunity.
Yeah, that's what Ducati will learn on for next season. Try and make their steps, because Bulliger will be your clear favourite next year. But it's a very different championship next season. Bulliger is aware of that, and Ducati are aware of that. But for this season as it's been, I think it's fair to say that he's been really strong, really consistent, but just had that little bit of an edge given to him by Toprak.
have his optimism centre around new machinery next season. His comments have been positive. He says that experience he hopes will enable him to unlock that package immediately at the start of the year. As he
Yeah, and that has to be the key for him, just to be ready to hit the ground running. You go to Phillip Island, the place where he's had a lot of success across different classes. And round one on the Barney bike, he'll be hopeful that he's able to do something that Petrucci hasn't been able to do. Petrucci obviously is a two-time race winner, but Danilo's always been that consistent rider in the superbike class, not the guy that's got that outright lead, basically.
Let's go through your podium trio then in the SUPERPOLE race at EICMA Estoril round. Alvaro Bautista with third position. It's podium number 120. In a row, he'll be chasing 5 in a row this afternoon to match his best run of 2020. Second place for Nicolo Bulliger, podium number 52 for him, and 28 in this 2025 season. It is Toprak Razgatlioglu, the victor, 170th podium in WorldSBK, win number 78, now on double the number of wins of his title rival Nicolo Bulliger. So 12 more championship points for Toprak, another 3 gained over Bulliger behind him. Alvaro Bautista pulls out 1 more over Andrea Locatelli after holding on. The do have a potential in race 2 this afternoon in Estoril. Danilo Petrucci, in his absence, he leads 3 to 8 points over Alvaro Bautista, who's still only 3 ahead of Andrea Locatelli, has been competitive in damage limitation exercise. Alec Lowe's crashing out means that Sam Lowe's remains in 6th position. Manufacturers Championship and the victory, race victory for BMW, gives them a 3-point swing over Ducati, which they take the lead. Point in it though, and that one does look like it might go down the final race. Is those SUPERPOLE awards now wrapped up by Toprak Razgatlioglu, 8 points his margin over Nicolo Bulliger, and it is Ducati's 5. First championship points in 2025, albeit an unlikely opportunity for Toprak Razgatlioglu to wrap up the title with a round to spare. We'll be back with all of the permutations in about 2 hours. join us. Just a 6-kilometre drive from the Atlantic coast to the 11th date on the 2025 calendar, the fifth staging of SUPERPOLE RACE Estoril round. This venue hosted the season finale in 2020 and the penultimate round of the series last year. But this afternoon should be the first time it decides a world champion. Race 1 yesterday was the first opportunity Stefano Manzi has had to wrap up the title. Canon Chu scored the top 5 finish he needed to keep the championship alive. Manzi, for his part, could finish 12th place 3 times and still take the crown. He continues to relish this fight with Onchu. Yesterday, he made a last lap pass for second. The 13th time in 21 races, outscored his lone remaining title rival. And today could now be the day that installs Stefano Manzi as the 2025 SUPERPOLE World Champion. Inside me, Manzi's won the last 3 races without a win. Yamaha with a reduced rev limit in that spell, and Valentin Debise becoming only the 4th rider this season. With before, Manzi stated yesterday he is determined to be crowned with a race victory.
Yeah, for Manzi, that's what the target is. He wants to win this one in style and then move on to the Superbike in a couple of weeks' time for his first test of that machine with Yamaha. But for Manzi, he's been so good all the way through the season. That's why he holds a 64-point advantage in his hands now coming into this race, and it's just going to be a massive shock if he doesn't get the job done.
Race 2, Roberto Garcia set an earn. Valentin Debise second fastest, finds a place compared to his original qualifying spot. That demotes Canon Chu and Alberto Sura 2 places each to 3rd and 4th respectively. Filiberto beat the second row up to 1. 3 of the top 4 in the championship originally qualified well out of position, but they've made major progress thanks to their fastest lap yesterday. Stefano Manzi, 13th after the pole, qualifying results is with Yamaha, now promoted 5th. Masia, the biggest winner, up from 7 ahead of Friday.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, the 4th class, we've consistently had really good racing all the way through the season. Look, if we're going to have that once again. And Philip Burns is just taking his way through. He's been on good form lately, 3 4th place finishes in a row. He's been back in the top 10 for much of the second half of the season. He's viewing this as a real chance to be able to get back on the podium and maybe challenge for that race.
Finder of the championship, Stefano Manzi, roughly 400 points podium yesterday. He's 64 points up on channel, with only 75 points, I should say, available in the remaining 3 races. Masia 4 points ahead of Tom Buchanan. Valentin Debise highest, tied now on 185 points. Pole sitter here, Roberto Garcia set the fastest. Pole sitter here, Roberto Garcia set the fastest lap of race 1 on lap 3. In so doing, missed the window to serve his long lap penalty for his Aragon round collision with Mattia Casadei, who was left down in 13th after serving a double long lap penalty, then lost almost 5 seconds on lap 16, ended up out of the points. So went from his last 5 races.
There on the grid with his Andrew Pitt as well, and for Pitty, we've been able to see him through the course of this year, knowing that he's got a reader in Roberto Garcia. They're starting from that pole, and they know that this is a good opportunity for them. Roberto had that double long lap penalty yesterday. That was a deciding factor for him in being able to have a strong performance, but he paced this. And like there, so hopefully no issue with him. Valentin Debise here, 3 consecutive podiums for the first time in the SUPERPOLE World Championship for him, so his best ever run of form. First win to go in Aragon. Replicated the next day, the Yamaha's gained ground, so let's see if the same happens again this weekend. After his race 1 victory yesterday, he is now level with Luca Myers for the championship, so with the chance to move ahead of him here. Yeah, Debise has been so strong all the way through this season, very consistent. You can see the problem there for Onchu, and didn't even come to his grid slot correctly there, so we'll wait and see exactly what the problem could be for Chan, but obviously it's on my crew down there as well, just to check that out and see what the issue is.
Go down without the fight. He looked with Stefano Manzi from lap 4 onwards in race 1 yesterday, but it was another battle with the championship leader that Onchu has lost on the final lap. So 8 consecutive podiums in name, but only those wins. 6 victories
for the team. That's one of the big focuses for them at this stage, and I think that when you look at what Sura's been able to do, he's been able to jump onto that bike and really show a lot of competition this year, and he's made a good step and he's surprised everyone.
Stefano Manzi in another big last lap pass yesterday, and in so doing produced an 8-point swing in the championship over Chan On-Chu. His lead now at 64 points, just as it was 4 races ago after race 1 in Magny-Cours. It was 61 points 8 races ago. So Manzi managing his advantage well. An incredible average of 90 points per race this season. Manzi on exactly 100. Philip Ertl, fast. It was only in the final 4 laps that Ertl became detached from the podium positions. 4th place as you said, Steve, for the 3rd consecutive race. But there's only a small step for him to find before he embarks on his 2nd racing 2020.
Yeah, and important for him to get that opportunity. It was such a disappointing year for him at the start of the campaign with injuries, but he's kind of formed. Needs to give himself a chance to win a race before the end of this.
Cameron Massia and Tom Bouthenoff line up 6th and 7th on the grid, still separated by 4 points in the championship, but now with Massia in front for 3rd overall. Massia picked up an understated 8th, leading for less than 2 seconds of the eventual winner after lap 6. Finished 7 at 2nd time, but Bouthenoff crashed out, so Massia's 8th essentially a free hit. Only consolation for Bouthenoff from yesterday was that he passed rival Massia on lap 9 and was still ahead in 7th when he lost the front at turn 6 on lap 16. But it was the 3rd non-score in 7 races. Massia's only had 3 non-scores this season. That could be vital in the battle for bronze.
Yeah, and it is a good scrap between them as well. Bouthenoff on the Triumph's done really well. Obviously, qualifying's always been a bugbear for him with that bike. His race pace has always been very impressive.
7th and 8th for Massia and Bouthenoff on the 3rd row of the grid, and completing that row, Luca Myers, only beaten by Valentin de Bees times in the first 18 races of this 2025 season. 7 points in the past 3 races alone. So that looks as though he is likely to be in the standings. Myers only had 4 rough from the season, none since Donington Park. There's the run of 4th row of the grid for Rafael De Rosa on the QJ. Posted both of the 20 results at the Estoril round, but still failed to score here last year. They returned this week
that led to that crash, and that's ultimately what ended up costing him a decent chance in this race as well. But good opportunity from the 4th row of the grid.
They've got to take back his best ever SuperPole effort from the 24 Estoril round, another 8th place grid position in race 1, but a dropped by the end of the opening lap. And
we did see the good qualifying performance. We've seen flashes this year from him, but we'll see what next year brings. But by trying to find that bit of to always be up there in those top 4 rows of the grid for both session, that really good.
Off the grid, Federico Caricasupo, Ollie Bayliss and Leonardo Turcini. For Caricasupo still only 10 finished, and none of them any better than 9th place. Received the long lap penalty in race 1 for a collision with Matteo Ferrari.
Yeah, and for Caricasupo, it's just been that up and down. See, the super class now is so competitive, it's so close. Really can't afford to have any of those up and down weekends. Carica, that's been the story of his last few. On the good days, we know that he's a contender for podiums and maybe even race wins as well, but on those bad days,
any riders massively out of the here. Under his belt, best finish of Hungarian round. He can get with 21 points. The PTR Triumph's only points in the P5, kind of that championship situation. Essentially, it boils down to Stefano Manzi needing a top 5 finish this afternoon, or indeed score 11 points in any other way. Hopefully remaining 75 points still on the board. That shoots points away from Stefano Manzi for series leader, and build up to it. The underway, 18 laps ahead of us in Supersport. Stefano Manzi is 11 points away from the Supersport World title with 3 races to score them. 3 12th places would do it, so with a top 5 finish this afternoon. Only 4 times this season Manzi made the top 5, so he should be champion with the comfort of a round to spare. And even if Manzi failed to sport for the rest of the season, just picking up the 65 out of a possible 75 in the remaining 3 races would be a big enough challenge for Chan On-Chu. It is just a matter of time now until we crown Stefano Manzi in 2020. Alex Craby and Steve English for race 2 of the 2025 Estoril round. could be the first time we crown a Superpole World Champion at this venue.
And Manzi should be more than capable of getting the job done today. As you said, Alex, he doesn't want to just win this by getting across the line. He wants to win this race to ramp up the championship. For Tenkate, they've been able to win so many championships in the past 11 Superpole crowns, and they're out to make it a dozen. For Manzi, over the course of the 3 years, he's been so strong, he's been so consistent, been the most consistent rider in the Supersport class over the years. This is his chance to become a world champion.
Silver medals in the last 2 years. He has won plenty of races, but never quite had the package to challenge for the title this season. Best Yamaha that he has been able to ride, and he's taken maximum advantage.
It's the first time he's been on the bike that has probably been the best bike on the grid. When you look at the last few years up against Uraga, up against Huertas, this year with a brand new package for Yamaha, they've been able to hit the ground running from the first round of the year, strong and consistent, and now they've got the chance to get their reward. They've already wrapped up the chance to win the one that even stands out, the Riders' Championship.
Last weekend in Aragon, or 2 weeks ago in Aragon, and this, is it still the best bike on the grid after the reduction in the rev limits? Because in Valentin de B is able to take 2 of the last 3 races. He hadn't really been a big challenger for the race victories this season up until then.
Give me Manzi and Onchu on that bike for 12 rounds, even with the rev penalties, and I'm still backing them every day of the week. They're the 2 best riders on the grid, the 2 teams that have consistently shown themselves to be top-tier outfits for class, top-tier outfits for class. Right now, I think that Ducati gives you an opportunity to be able to win races, but Onchu and Manzi give you the opportunity to championship. I think that's a big difference.
A slightly more mixed up grid compared to yesterday. Obviously, compared to but it does mean that we've got all of our front runners on the front over the grid. We've got the championship rival Stefano Manzi mid. We've got the championship rival Stefano Manzi and Chan Onchu in third. Bias for fifth by Chan Onchu. Valentin de B. Amos losing a little bit of ground. He's down to 9th.
Yeah, and all the contenders get through those opening 2 corners. The Bees did well through turn 1 to hold on to that top 3 spot. It looked like both Sura and Manzi were going to get the chance to be able to scrap through there. Looks like for Sura, he's lost a couple of spots there again and just dropped behind Luca.
Classic determined opening lap stuff from Luca Meyer. Started 9th on the grid, way up into 6th ahead of Urkel and Sura. But Sura fighting his way back through now. Come to turn 7. And on to leading Roberto Garcia. Jaume Masia incisive there on the inside of Stefano Manzi. That's for 4th position. To see whether Manzi immediately hits straight back in towards turn 9. Will give himself the opportunity by running wider off turn 8 and straight back through he goes. And Jaume Masia and Stefano Manzi upping and changing position. Right, is Manzi back up into 4th place. Jaume Masia down to 5th.
Yeah, never a question. Manzi was going to try and make that move. Runs the field. Roberto Garcia on the 37 bike. Doing a good job in the G94 machine to keep Chan Onchu on a stage. But this is what the run down towards turn 1's like. Because it should be the B's and P3 that leads this group.
We see the job that he is capable of doing immediately from his first weekend in Misano. He was promising at Donington Park, top 5 finisher at Balaton Park as well. Hasn't been able to run at the front since then as a result of poor Superpole performances. Gets up onto pole position, courtesy of his fastest lap in race 1 yesterday. And he's looking comfortable at running with the leaders.
Yeah, and important to be able to keep yourself that champion. Now does take the lead. Coming down towards turn 1, you saw just how fast that Ducati was compared to the Yamahas. All the way through this weekend, the Yamaha's been 12th, 13th, 14th on the speed trap compared to Ducati's up the top.
Alberto Garcia almost running up the back of Alberto Sura there, trying to get back alongside for 4th position. Sura holding the line well. We've got 4 Yamahas in the top 5 positions here as Manzi makes his move on Chan Onchu, making their way through turn 60. Parabolica Interior. And neither of them here want to lose sight of Valentin de Bees, yesterday's race winner and the top scorer up from the Aragon round onwards. De Bees runs a little bit wide in there, and Manzi had the opportunity to capture the position but doesn't quite pull alongside. It will give him the run now towards the hook, turn 9. De Bees has track position. Manzi can't quite get alongside. Onchu tucked in right with them in 3rd position. Garcia, Sura, Masia, Maya, by 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, and you can keep for Garcia and for Sura good opportunities for them to be in the podium fight here, as De Bees just so much faster than Manzi through that part of the track. But it's the run down start finish straight that he really does have his big advantage. you expect to see that show take place.
This venue, and it's the longest start-finish straight of the season. They go 3 abreast back in towards turn 1 on lap number 3, and Manzi had led the group, is going to end up down in 5th position here. This at the moment looks almost more like a Supersport 300 race than anything else, as Roberto Garcia hits the front ahead of Chanon Chu. Valentin de Beek in 3rd, Nastia in 4th, and people inside those top 5 positions. That's all he needs it.
And you can see Tom Booth Amos now trying to make his move, but he ran really wide turn 1 a lap ago. He's been able to find a way to keep himself in the lead group and trying to put that pressure on Luca Mayas. You can see his big rival, Jaume Masia, for 3rd in the World Championship up there inside the top 5.
Thankfully, Roberto Garcia under pressure again from Chanon Chu as they come to the Parabolica Interior on lap number 3. Good to see from Jaume Masia this, looking a lot more like...
Make sure he doesn't drop too much further down the order. He's in P5, but doesn't really want to get himself into a scrap with Chanon Chu teammate Sura.
They are at Monchu leading. Manzi, that would be exactly enough. Stefano champion, points for Chanon Chu. That would be the margin with those 2 races remaining as they head their way through. Left-hander once again, tightening up further back down the order. Philip Urkel just trying to make his way through on Luca Myers, and he's done so. Urkel up into 7th.
For the red Ducati trying to put himself into the fight as well. We've got 2 Ducatis up there in 4th and 5th spot, but Yamaha's still holding on to this race lead as De Bees tries to attack and move himself up into P3 ahead of Jaume Masia. The good move there into turn 9, one of the favourite overtaking opportunities for everyone around here, but Chanon Chu trying to the group gets a bit together, and for Valentin De Bees, the rider in the... Let's see what he's able to do now behind the 37 of Roberto Garcia. Should be able to slipstream the Yamaha, but too far back to be able to really put himself in a position to attack Chanon Chu as they head down into turn 1.
Chanon Chu, who holds track position. Valentin De Bees across the bows of Roberto Garcia. He's going to run a little bit wide on the exit. He does hold on for the position. Jaume Masia, then it's Manzi, still in the top 5. He needs to be crowned world champion. Alberto Sura in 6th place. Urkel, Myers, Famous Vostotec rounding out your top 10. Good for Ramondre Vostotec to stay with the group this time.
Yeah, important for Vostotec to do that. You can see Manzi able to come through there on Sura as well, and on Masia on this lap. And important for him to make those moves. He can then just put his bike on the inside and just take command of it. Not thinking too much in terms of championship battle, just about the chance to get to the front as he makes the move down into turn 6. You can see for De Bees there, gets alongside on the break point, and then once you're in that position, it's up to you to take control.
Does exactly that. Chanon Chu as Stefano Manzi launches his move from the championship this season, if he suffers the same damage.
Yeah, once you start thinking about that, though, those instants start to come closer and closer to you. So you can't really be too careful out there and try and make your moves. Manzi is such an aggressive rider that he knows the best one to try and get
over the curves there on the exit of turn number 1 again. Everyone's trying to go in as deep as they possibly can to that first bend to give themselves track position. Chanon Chu has it for the moment. Lap number 6. Van der Bees right with him. The 2 of them have been probably the fastest 2 riders.
Barra decent for De Bees. Those last couple of rounds he really has stepped it up.
Valentin De Bees wins this race. That lowers the target and makes it Manzi confirmed world champion as Manzi in front now of Onchu. Quite great batters than there. Roberto Garcia, not so much. He's through on Jaume Masia for 4th position. Impressive move into the hook from him on lap 6.
This is the chance to win a race if you're Roberto Garcia on the number 37 machine. He wants to try and grab that with both hands. He's got Andrew Pitt, former SuperPole World Champion in the Crew Jeep, and he's got pity in your ear. A lot of the time it's about trying to give yourself those chances to win, and Pity always an in-demand Crew Chief just because he has helped so many riders elevate their game. Doing that once again with Garcia.
Amos ahead of Luca Myers now for 8th. He'll go off and chase Alberto Sura. I mean, Valentin the leader on a bit late there. Down the inside of Manzi, gets it stopped in time. Masia recovering against Roberto Garcia. So Ducati's turn. Abide in P25. Managed to fight his way inside the top 10 positions yesterday. So for Jeremy Alcover, replicate something like that, I think top 7 finish. afternoon. Beginning to stretch away now, the top two. Valentin de Bees and Stefano Manzi. Constantina effect back into turn 9. Masia ahead of Onchu, now down to 4. So Onchu having been passed by Manzi. Also, Onchu having been passed by Manzi. He's passed by Masia as well.
Issue was, but just being dropped now at this stage of the race.
Up in lap number 8, it's 5 of 18. Manzi is very, very close to De Bees. Less than a 10 minutes as they cross the line. Side with making errors here as Chan Onchu marches Jaume Masia out of the way in towards turn 1. Onchu's starting to recover positions. He knows he's got to go because a gap has opened up now of 0.6 of a second between Onchu in third and De Bees the race leader.
Yeah, and once you lose that time, it is difficult to make it back up. So come through, but he won down into turn 1, and he just puts his bike.
Very much Turkish style, that one. Valentin de Bees ahead of Stefano Manzi. Onchu's going to try and fight back. Matches De Bees pace through the first sector, but he's going to come under pressure now from Jaume Masia. Just about holds on as they make their way through the Parabolica Interior. Philip Urkel made a pass on Roberto Garcia, but it got him in popped into that turn 6, and Garcia turns straight back up the inside, recover the place. Urkel will go again now as they make their way down the hill, and Jaume Masia gets in a little bit too close to Chan Onchu for third position. Managing to gather it back up. So Bees leading Manzi as Garcia attacks again. Loves that turn 9, clearly Garcia. And it's looking well for him. Another position gained up ahead of Masia now for 4th position.
Yeah, and for Onchu on this lap, personal best in sector 2, personal best in sector 3. He's bringing it as much as he can to Manzi and claw back some of that disadvantage that he has. So last time on when he comes across the line, last time around, Onchu was a mid 1 minute 40. He needs to be down into those low 40s or 39s like the rest of the race.
Their legs on, start finish straight then to Bees and Onchu. The seconds between the three of them after lap 9. Beginning to stretch away now, aren't they? And chance of a second. Garcia a little bit too eager going into turn 1. Clips the back of Onchu. He'll lose places and his momentum as a result.
And you can see Sura now with a good run on him as well, and we'll see if Alberto's able to make that move through into the 6th spot.
Two race leaders, Bees and Manzi, tenths of a second between them. Does look as though Garcia just about managed to hold on ahead of Sura, Maya, there, Famos, and still only seconds covering the top 10 riders.
Yeah, and for Tom Budemos, 9th position right now on the Triumph, and he's got quite a few bikes between himself and Jaume Masia. That's in the fight for 3rd in the World Championship. But right now, Masia's given himself that good opportunity.
From 6, right down Valentin to beat at the head of the field. And Onchu, you feel a little bit unsettled, not totally as comfortable as he has been earlier on in the weekend. Up to 7/10 of a second now. We saw him going deep through turn 7, struggling to get the bike stopped. So he's going to come under increasing pressure now from the likes of Masia and Urkel on the Ducati behind Garcia. And then Luca Myers has got up ahead now of Alberto Sura. So Myers, ever combative, now found his way into 7th.
Yeah, Luca doesn't need much of an excuse to get into a fight, and good performance when he himself up into the top 7. Just how much he's trying to get on the gas through that last corner. Bit of a slide, but looks he's got enough advantage.
Looking really good for Jaume Masia at this stage. Another couple of tenths of a second faster than Chan Onchu last time around. Real shot of being on the podium. Crucial that Tom Budemos starts to make some progress. Came across the line side by side in front of our commentary with Luca Myers and Albert. Latest podium finishes back in June. Yeah, latest podium finishes back in June.
Yeah, at that point in the season, there was a lot of talk that maybe we put Masia onto Philip Urkel's bike and him back onto the Arlac bike. But for Masia, he's staying with the Arlac team. He's staying with the Arlac team, and good opportunity next year for him to try and go better in the championship. A bit of experience, but he wants to make sure he doesn't get onto the podium.
But to be honest, in the last couple of rounds, he's been just as good as Masia. The one Ducati that's been able to do something extra is the Renzi Corsa Ducati of Valentin de Bees, and race leader again. As we come to the end of lap number 10, only Stefano Manzi can go with him. On lap 9, we'll see what it's like at the end of lap 10. Manzi actually close enough to think about a move down the inside. But he's still in the mix, isn't he? 10th of a second faster last time around on lap 10. 6.5 tenths the gap low to the race leader.
Just further back with Philip Urkel with personal best down in the 39s, faster than all the riders. And he's going to try and challenge on Garcia as well and move up into the top 4 spot.
these leads the way. It's Manzi in second, and 2 directly behind, and then to Philip Urkel and Ishan, and 12 seconds from the race lead, and we're going to pick him up here.
I think Massia ran off in turn 6, lost 10 seconds for Jama Massia. Down and out of the points, and that's huge in his fight against Tom Budemus. As it would stand right now, Budemus has a 5-point advantage against him, which is that final round. As this weekend,
advantage for Demise and Manzi at the head of the field. Bit of a gap to Canon Chu. 9/10 of a second back now on Chu, who lost 2 tenths in that second sector alone on that 12
there at that stage and wasn't able to make that happen. That's Luca Myers, which came as well turned down.
Luca Myers will be on the exit of the hook, but he has come to grief. To get the fight back started, but that will rule him out of the points as well. Deep at the front.
Behind the Manchu under so much pressure now as well.
Final step on the podium. Wacky races in the closing stage
there from 65. Able to carry this, set the move up down that fourth. Up 10 finished really well on the Honda this year, and you hope that it gives him an opportunity to be on a bike that's a little bit closer.
This is Manzi. And does Manzi attack all out for the race victory? You'd expect down the inside of Tom Budemus. So Jeremy Alcover has got himself up now into 7th position. That relegates Tom Budemus back down to 8th. That's a point lost. I think for today as they are at present.
Just not scoring enough points to keep himself in championship contention now. Just not scoring enough points to keep himself in championship contention now. And we saw it there again. Another big slide from Onchu when he got in the gas. And we saw it there again. Another big slide from Onchu when he got in the gas. Tom Budemus is going to come through him as well. And unfortunately for Dan Onchu, his seat going to end with a little bit of a whimper here compared to the whole season.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for Canon Chu, who needed to be on the podium here as Stefano Manzi takes control, hits the front at the start of lap 16.
Yeah, and Manzi able to make the move down the start-finish straight, and then in the right position to break deep into turn 1 and take that race lead.
Full 2/10 of a second faster last time around than Manzi, great leader, 3/10 of a second faster than Valentin Demise. Be running out of time, 2.5 laps to go.
Yeah, Philip's still chasing his first.
To win your first race and have absolutely nobody take any notice of you. Everyone's going to be focused on Stefano Manzi. 9/10. I think Manzi's got this race under control now. He's half a second ahead of Valentin in the first and second sectors of this lap 16.
You mentioned it a few times earlier on about the slides drive out of the corners with Manzi. And once again, for Steph, he's able to show a bit of racecraft and the confidence that it takes to just bide your time and wait until that opportunity to come through. And then once he does that, he puts in a heater and he immediately advances lap. I'm curious what the lap time is when he crossed the line. A 40.5 last time around. You'd imagine that this lap is going to be down.
Canon now 3.5 seconds behind the podium position that he needs, even if Stefano Manzi were to come to difficulties in the closing stages. Stefano Manzi is just 8 kilometres away now from being crowned SuperPole World Champion in 2025, and he's going to do it in style. He stretches his lead to 70 with 2 to go.
Well, Boba making his move as well.
There's been one as Onchu Budemus back into turn 1, fighting with what he's got. He's not got very much. 3 seconds to the next rider in the race, set for his best result and his first podium since his return after 3 years away in the Superbike class. Jeremy Alcover will take the final step on the podium. 4/10 of a second clear of Garcia. Sura beginning to drop back as well. Budemus will round out the top 6, move back into 3rd in the World Championship standings. But it's all eyes on Stefano Manzi. The pit board is ready for the final lap. Stefano Manzi couldn't manage even a podium in 6 seasons and 108 starts in the Grand Prix paddock. The move to the sport saved his career. Podiums in more than half the races he started. 2 silver medals in the last 2 years. And now Stefano Manzi is the 2025 SuperSport World Champion. Philip Urkel with his first podium, second podium of the season on the Ducati. His best result with the Italian manufacturer. Jeremy Alcover comes over the line.
Very difficult. This was his chance to lay down the line on what he is as a rider. Lay down the line on what he is as a rider. And a lot like what we saw from Locatelli, Cortez, Andy Macri, and a few other riders. Seen them come across in the Grand Prix past Moto2. into the super sport class, and show just how good of a rider they are. And for Manzi, it's going to be that comparison years. Like
Real shame that we lose Valentin de Bees in the latter stages. Would have been great to have a fight, a genuine fight. Canon Chu hitting problems as well. But ultimately, Manzi's deserved coming over the line to win the race, to win the championship, I think. And he did look like he made that race his own anyway.
yeah, I think by the time he had hit the front, he was ahead again, and would have been good to bring that fight to him. But all the three different manufacturers up there in the podium, Yamaha rewarded by winning this championship. Rewarded by winning this championship. Best fight.
Emotional moment this, and what a race that was from him. 25th on the grid. Yes, there is attrition, obviously.
Imagine that it's going to old leather. But it could be anything with Tankade. Old leather. But it could be anything with Tankade.
I haven't heard from Kervin and from Tenkate since the Dommy days, but I suspect there'll be a party tonight.
Yeah, they won't. And their job's done for this week. Obviously, we're on to Jerez next week. And then when you look at the fact that Kawasaki's back up there with their new bike, they've got reason for courage now after this season. Certainly for Yamaha. Now the question is, how did they keep going? And Anzi would be replaced by Canon at the way that Tenkate get another championship here. Everyone's factor. Yeah, when you look at it, Onchu, see it on the place of but Ali Mahendra did the job before his injury. Siakamoto teammate to Anzi. Questions about that role, but for Yamaha, they've put the right riders in place. And the right team.
And even finding of Rinaldi was worth the go. It was a big name to Obviously, that one didn't work out, and he moved back to WorldSBK. But it was a lot of big. It was a lot of big effort. Like the bags up there, but left of it. Stefano Manzi makes his way back to the pit. First mistake of the race.
Yeah, the Yamaha just spitting out bits of the tricolore there, but easily done. And for Manzi, I think that if that's the only you're making, good enough job to get it across the line.
Not quite sure what's only 3 and 1. You make it.
Oh, well done to Lucia next. For Manzi, as he comes back in, he'll get a good reception
than they had earlier in. They were that much. Valentin de Bees giving them congratulations. Toprak Razgatlioglu was down there as well.
Michael van der Mark down there as well. I've won Tenkate World Champion.
Great paddock. Very supportive. Making his way in, your 2025 World Champion. Cue the celebrations. Stefano Manzi enjoying himself on track. That's on hand as well. Congratulate the new world champion. He'll be crowned this weekend. Medal hand at the end. Manzi, your world champion. And still 2 races to come, in which we've got the Riders' Championship decided, the Sport Challenge decided as well. The Sport Challenge decided as well. Coron Samperolari scoring the points he needed, and nice to see that he's also the top Sport Challenge rider today, so we get the opportunity to see him and celebrate his success. Undoubtedly been the top of those top riders.
Another top 10 performance, 7 seconds off the race winner. A really good performance. When you look at what he's done for the race winner, a really good performance. When you look at what he's done for the other Honda riders, Michael Toba and Anna Carrasco, he's so much better than the other riders on the package, and that's the comparison that rider and Carolari of big.
Yeah, the high points have been very high, haven't they? Off the ground at 22 and there's been no consistency there, but we don't know how much of that is down to the package and what Honda might be able to do if they give Perolari.
Yeah, and I think interesting that further in the and he's able to show signs that he can still be a really strong top 10 rider, and whether or not he'd be more than that is a different question. He's definitely a contender. You look at what DeVries has been able to do, that's not a bad comparison to Laurie.
Australian round, of course. Maybe 8th position today. And credit again to QJ with Rafael De Rosa in 10th place. Top 10 and here and here from your podium trio, an unusual look to the rostrum finishers, 3 manufacturers. First of all, the Kawasaki of Jeremy Alcoba. Kawasaki's first podium this and Alcoba's.
Jeremy, I think that might be
Here from Philippa on the Ducati and his best yet for the Bologna manufacturer.
Philip, fantastic race out there. Your best result of the season, talk us through it.
It was a really hard race, especially after a so-so start. I think it was somewhere in 10th position, and fighting was hot, but the pace wasn't too fast. The tire dropped a lot towards the end compared to yesterday, and so I'm really happy that I can finish in 2nd place. Bike was good, engine brake, a good step, and happy for the team, so happy for myself. It was a good race, and now we're looking forward to it.
Great job, congratulations.
Looking forward to Jerez, and I suspect even more so looking forward to 2025, because not only 2025 world champion, but he's 5 world champion, but he's done it in style.
Stefano, you are the
Done it in style.
Stefano, you are the 2025 World Supersport, 25 World Supersport champion.
Feel amazing. It's difficult to find the word to describe the moment because when you start riding when you are young, you dream about it. And finally, I can say I'm a world champion and where this world should be in the race with the championship. Right? I mean,
We're looking for riders that have had those flashes of success that you're able to capitalize on a little more often. It's also why the likes of Alberto Arenas and flashes of success that you're able to capitalize on a little more often. It's also why the likes of Alberto Arenas, a world champion, is being talked about coming in as well. Big thing, just where can you find that rider that can deliver what riders like Manzi have been able to do?
I don't want to take anything away from the success today, but we've a little bit about what comes next. Stefano Manzi moving up to the Bike World Championship next season. We've seen what the job is that Nikolai Bulliger's been able to do. Obviously, that's the sort of high point. That's the dream, as it were, for Manzi. But Manzi was able to give Bulliger good races.
Yeah, and I didn't thought about it initially there when you go through that list. But it's where we're able to see that he held his hands up for straight away and admitted can't get away with mistakes like that. And this year he had Misano and a couple of other times where he's had little slip-ups. But overall,
That demanding, but be at the top of your game, that demanding aim, and he is today.
and move on to the, well, obviously if Honshu's on the bike next year,